It's time for the Red Sox to fire some coaches after yet another disappointing series.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I'm here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And the best part, it's all free, so you might as well continue to tune in because Locked On is your team every single day. Happy Monday, happy Memorial Day. Hope you are enjoying your day off. I know we all love long weekends, so definitely can't complain about being able to be off from work. Whether you're relaxing or having a nice cookout with friends and family, or you're planning on watching some daytime baseball, which has been, quite frankly, a chore as a Red Sox fan. And while it doesn't appear like I'm disappointed, I very much internally am infuriated with this baseball team right now. And a change has to be made. So I'm going to be talking about on the show today what one of those changes really should be in the very near future, as well as talking about Marcelo Mayer's debut weekend and how he looked in the first couple games that he's played in a Red Sox uniform, and some recent roster moves that the Red Sox did make to try to shake things up. So obviously a disappointing series for the Red Sox over the weekend. They currently stand with a record of 27-28 on the season, which is incredibly disappointing because they were playing an Orioles team that has been struggling a lot this year with 18 wins. They are 18-34 right now on the season. The Red Sox are in third place in their division. They are only half a game behind the Rays, who are 26-26. So obviously not anything that they can't overcome. But the thing that has been particularly frustrating has been the fact that it really truly feels like this Red Sox team is more talented than how they're playing right now. It feels like the roster has more pieces than what it feels like they might have. And looking at the Red Sox record right now, I really did not think they would be under 500 when it's almost the end of May. Now, granted, if you look at the Tigers from last year, they had a really rough first half of the season, and they really turned it on in the second half and basically just surpassed so many teams, and they were just winning lots of games, and it led to them getting a playoff spot. So obviously still plenty of time left in the season, especially with the fact that the American League in general has not been great this year. So there are still opportunities for them to pave their way to the playoffs. But obviously, there are things not going well this season as a whole. And to me, it truly starts with the coaching staff and the coaches not maximizing the talent that they have in front of them. Now, the Red Sox blew away the Orioles in game one of the series with a 19-5 victory. And then in game two, they won in walk-off fashion 6-5, thanks to Rafael Devers, who has been continuing to hit really well. He's currently up to a batting average of 291 on the season right now with a 406 on base percentage and 539 slugging. So that has definitely been a promising thing for the Red Sox as of late. But the Orioles took game 3 2-1 because the Red Sox offense couldn't get anything going, and then again couldn't get offense going in game 4 in the series finale on Sunday, where the Red Sox fell 5-1, and Walker Buehler ended up taking the loss in that game. He threw 5 innings, giving up 4 hits and 2 earned runs with 3 strikeouts and 2 walks. Now, for me, the biggest thing isn't necessarily losing. It's the fact that they split a series with an Orioles team that was very beatable. They really had to take 3 of 4 against Baltimore. That was basically something that felt mandatory, and the Red Sox were unable to do it. They have to be able to capitalize against these types of teams, and that's something they haven't been able to do. They really haven't been able to capitalize against the Blue Jays, White Sox, Orioles, teams that have really been struggling this year. the Red Sox have been struggling against them. And that's hurting them and it's costing them games. And why exactly is that? Because there's a lot of inconsistency with this Red Sox team right now. They can't put it all together. The offense will hit really well for a couple days, then they'll go into a slump and not hit well. The pitching staff, the bullpen will be reliable for a little bit, and then they'll fall back into struggling. And then the starting rotation isn't giving enough length. And that's been a big issue with this team this season, is that they're not getting length out of their starters, and the bullpen is completely worn down, and it leaves Alex Cora in a really tough spot because you have guys that he has to utilize in certain places that aren't always utilized in those roles, and it makes for a very complicated situation in terms of how to manage the bullpen. So that's a tough position to be in if you're the manager. So if you think about where the Red Sox are at right now and all of the issues that are compounding, this comes down to coaching. It's time for the Red Sox to consider shaking up the coaching staff. They're trying to shake up the roster by sending people down to AAA and calling people up and hoping that it creates more of a positive vibe for the Red Sox and they start to string together more wins because of it. But that doesn't seem to be the answer for me. The answer for me lies in the coaching staff and evaluating where things are at there. The Red Sox had 8 strikeouts in the series finale against Baltimore, 7 strikeouts in the game before that, 5 in the game before that, and in the first game of the series, 7. So they were able to limit it to less than double-digit strikeouts in each of those 4 games, which is promising but rare. The Red Sox average double-digit strikeouts as a team nearly every single day. That is a hitting strategy issue. That goes down to Pete Fatsi. He's the guy who draws up the plan for the offense. He's the guy who comes up with the strategy and says, okay, this is what's working for us, so this is what we as a team need to do at the plate. This is the approach you all have to take. And it's frustrating because these are professional baseball players and they all have their individual hitting styles. And I feel like it's really hard to get guys to conform to a certain strategy if it doesn't work for all of them. And I feel like the issue with the Red Sox as an offense that they have generally is that they're trying too hard to find their pitch and they don't want to freely swing at everything. So they are holding back a little bit, but because of that, they're swinging at bad pitches because they're being too selective. So then they get into this hole and find themselves having to swing when they shouldn't be. I feel like there could be a more positive difference when it comes to the offense, finding some more consistency if they get a fresh face in there offensively as a hitting coach, somebody who can come in there and provide a new strategy offensively and really allow guys to excel in certain areas of their game that work for them. And I feel like Pete Fatsi isn't able to maximize the offensive ability of all of these players. I'm going to use Trevor Story as an example because he's a guy who has consistently been struggling. Had a few week stretch early on in the season where he was really crushing the baseball, but then ever since then, it's kind of been on a decline for him. He hasn't really been at the point where he's been able to hit consistently, not only just this season, but also overall in his time in Boston. And it's been very frustrating to watch him out there because he hasn't been able to really find that groove on offense. So he's a guy who you see excel in Colorado, and his swing obviously was built for Coors Field, but you have to wonder if his hitting is struggling a lot because Pete Fatsi's strategy doesn't work for him, because this is abnormally bad for a guy with as much experience as Trevor Story has. He's chasing at so many pitches outside the zone, and that's always been something that he has struggled with. But why aren't the Red Sox doing anything to fix that? Where is the level of knowledge of saying, okay, something seriously going wrong with Trevor Story, what can we do to fix his offensive approach? There doesn't really seem to be a lot of that going on. And I think getting a new face in there to run the offense and be the guy who's going to call suit there could be a refreshing and nice and welcoming change for the Boston Red Sox. And then you look at the pitching side even, and Andrew Bailey and what he is implementing in these guys. And with the pitching strategy, this is not the first year in which the Red Sox have had problems with wearing down the pen. This was a huge issue last season, too, where the starters weren't giving the Red Sox length, and then the bullpen had to suffer because of it, and guys were being overused, and it led to people being mad at Alex Cora because of which players he's utilizing when. But the reality at the end of the day is that Alex Cora has to make do with what he has. He has to go out there and he has to say, okay, a couple of my high leverage arms aren't available today. So who am I going to send out there to throw in this inning? And if it's a low leverage guy in a high leverage spot, sometimes there isn't an option because maybe all the high leverage arms were used over the last couple days prior to that. So definitely very frustrating and hard for a manager to have to work with that. Now, I'm not saying Alex Cora is anywhere close to perfect. He definitely has made questionable decisions when it comes to his bullpen usage and management also. But the overarching problem there is that the starters aren't giving length. Why is that? Is that because they're overcompensating to make certain pitches work because Andrew Bailey values the off-speed stuff, so therefore his pitchers as a whole are trying to overwork their arms to make their off-speed pitches work when they're removing themselves from utilizing the fastball a lot, and it's really strenuous on their arms and they're not able to pitch as deep into games. Something needs to be examined with Andrew Bailey and his pitching strategy because the pitching has continued to be a constant problem ever since he's been here. And I'm not saying it's been every single pitcher. I mean, we've definitely seen some upward mobility from certain guys, like Justin Slayton is somebody who really has seemed to get a hang of the Red Sox system and has seemed to really grow and develop as a pitcher and has completely ran with that. And I really like to see that from him. And then a guy like Aroldis Chapman, who has been dominating in his role as the Red Sox closer, and obviously Garrett Crochet giving you what you need from a starting pitching standpoint. But overall, you have guys that have seriously declined. I mean, Brian Bayo and Tanner Houck struggling in the way that they are. Why is that? These relievers like Zach Kelly and a guy like Greg Weisser, for example, who can kind of be hit or miss. He overall has been pretty good this year, but when he's not on, he's really not on. And there seems to be no adjustment on Andrew Bailey's end when it comes to really growing these guys' games. And I feel like he's not maximizing these pitchers and getting the most out of them. And that is a problem to me. So for me, where the Red Sox changes should be starting is by firing some coaches. Start with the hitting coach and the pitching coach and see where things go from there. Yes, maybe down the road you have a conversation about Alex Cora, but I'd like to see how things could turn around if they fire a couple of the coaches under him, because this is getting really infuriating now that the Red Sox are once again in a position where they're an average baseball team, but they have the roster to where they should be better. And that is a coaching problem. So get rid of some coaches and let's start winning some baseball games, please. Somebody the Red Sox are hoping can help them win some baseball games is Marcelo Mayer, who they called up for this weekend series. Going to be talking about him a little bit next. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. It's actually really cool because if you have a read on a player that's heating up, you can back it up with a same game parlay and couple it with maybe the final score based on who's favored and if one of the two teams is going to hit what you bet on. So, and covering the spread. So if the Pacers are favored by 2.5, maybe you're taking the Pacers minus 2.5 and you're also taking Hurlbut to score 20 plus points. Coupling those together, if you get them both right, that could win you lots of money. So there's a really cool opportunity to really grow financially here. New to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. FanDuel is truly a great way to win lots of money. My husband actually uses it every single day. He places his bets. It's part of his daily routine in the morning. He opens up his laptop. He goes onto his little spreadsheet, figures out what he wants to bet on for the day and then goes into the FanDuel app and actually makes those bets. So he takes it super seriously. You don't have to take it that seriously, but you can still win lots of money without taking it that seriously. So make sure that you download the app today and start betting on your favorite sports. The Boston Red Sox called up one of their top prospects in Marcelo Mayer over the weekend. Now, unfortunately, it came at an expense because Alex Bregman is now going to the injured list for the Boston Red Sox, and their fear is that he's going to be out for an extended period of time. He dealt with the same injury in 2021, and he ended up missing 58 games because of that. So the Red Sox fear that it's the same injury, so they needed another infielder. So the reason for calling up Marcelo Mayer wasn't really because of exactly what he has done this year in particular, but more so the fact that Bregman, who has been truly their best hitter all season long, is now struggling with his health, and the Red Sox really needed another player. So Meyer is now up, but it's super well deserved. I dropped an episode over the weekend where I talked about what the Red Sox are exactly getting in Meyer and his work ethic, and I have nothing but really good things to say about this kid. He will continue to work really hard. He takes everything day by day and just wants to put together the best quality at-bats to help his team win, and he's also incredibly humble. I mean, if you're a player of his caliber who is one of the most talked about prospects in the sport, and you're sitting there saying, you know, my time will come when it comes, so much respect for him and his game and the way that he carries himself. And he's very mature for a 22-year-old. So lots of good things to say about Marcelo Mayer. And he was called up on Saturday. So that was a bit of a whirlwind of a day for him because he showed up to the ballpark in Worcester on Saturday. And the Woo Sox also were scheduled to play a doubleheader, just like the Red Sox were, because there's been so much rain in Massachusetts. And it's just been really difficult to get games in. So he showed up to Polar Park, wasn't in the lineup for game one for the Woo Sox for precautionary reasons. And, you know, Chad Tracy obviously had a feeling that there was a chance he could be sent to Boston, so he didn't put him in the Woo Sox lineup for game one. But so then Chad Tracy called Meyer into his office and said, hey, you're playing in game two, just not here. You're playing it at Fenway. And Meyer got immediate chills saying, wow, my time's here. You know, I made it. I did it. I'm playing with the major league team. So then things got chaotic for him because he couldn't find his car keys, which, by the way, he hasn't been able to find for the last few weeks in Worcester. So he was kind of scrambling. So then one of the clubbies who works at Polar Park had to drive him to Fenway for his debut. His phone's blowing up. He called his dad to say he got his call up. He's answering all kinds of texts with people saying congratulations on getting called up to the majors. So he's super busy, doesn't really have a lot of time to breathe or think or take everything in. So he gets called up to play in the second game of the doubleheader that the Red Sox had on Saturday when they ended up taking, unfortunately, a 2-1 loss against the Orioles in that game. He ended up going 0 for 4 in the game with 3 strikeouts. And again, keep in mind, like, this is tough because obviously people go in expecting him to just go off immediately. But it is natural for any rookie to have to adjust and get used to playing in the majors. So he goes out there, goes 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. I wasn't even surprised because it was a super chaotic day for him. He was all over the place. He goes from a few hours earlier thinking he's going to be playing for the Woo Sox to then getting sent to Boston. And it was just an absolute whirlwind of a day for this kid. So his mindset was more, wow, I got called up. Hasn't even sunk in yet. So he hadn't really gotten to think through how he wants to approach his game. So then Saturday's game concludes. He has time to go home, settle, really take everything in and adjust to the fact that he's a Major League Baseball player now. So he could go into Sunday's game with a bit of a clearer head because all of the craziness from the day before was gone. So sure enough, he went into Sunday's game and he was in the lineup 6th for the Red Sox, and he went 2 for 4 with a single and a double in that game. Didn't strike out at all, and he scored a run. So that was really nice to see him scoring the Red Sox only run of the game. And the thing with all of this was great to see him go out there and get a couple knocks, because that's going to be huge for a player's confidence. Because when somebody like that comes up to the plate, the biggest thing on their mind is, I need to get that first major league hit. And sometimes that's really hard for players because they're internalizing it a lot and they're saying, wow, I need to make sure that I get this hit. And he hadn't gotten that hit in the first game. So he was like, all right, let's try to see if I can get it in the second game. He got that first major league hit over with. He hit a single in the game, and that's great for him because now he gets that out of the way and doesn't have to worry about it and can continue to work on other aspects of his game. But then he added in the 9th inning a double to amplify his performance from the game on Sunday. So a 2-hit day for a player who's in his second day in Major League Baseball is an accomplishment for sure. And I'm really proud of him for going out there and making noise and showing, hey, I'm ready for this and I want to be in the big leagues. And he was already really hungry because he was super disappointed in the fact that he didn't make the major league roster to start the season. He felt like he was really deserving of it. But the thing was that, there wasn't really a spot for him on the major league roster at the time because Alex Bregman was here, Trevor Story was healthy, and then Christian Campbell had gotten called up to play second. And at the time, Tristan Casas was healthy and was playing first base. So there wasn't really an opportunity for Meyer to begin the season on the major league roster, but he had felt like he had deserved it. So he went into this season with an absolute mission. He said, I deserve to make this Red Sox team, and I'm going to go out there and show why I deserve to make this team. So sure enough, he balled out in Worcester, earned his shot. And yes, you may not be happy with the reason that, he only got called up because somebody else is injured. Well, sure, yeah, Bregman unfortunately is hurt and the Red Sox needed to make it work. So they called him up, but he really has a shot to solidify himself right now. If he continues to play well and put together good at-bats, then when Bregman comes back from the injured list, there's going to be some hard decisions the Red Sox are going to have to make. And if Trevor Story is struggling at the plate in the way that he has been, then the Red Sox are going to get to the point where they might have to say, okay, well, Story isn't really helping our team anymore to win baseball games, but we have this star-studded kid in Marcelo Mayer who has been putting a ton of work in and finally got his call up, and here we are. And I am super, confident in his ability to continue to perform in that manner. So I don't want to say there's an insane amount of pressure on him because there's really not, because he just got called up. So he has to just kind of do his thing. And what was even more special about Sunday's game and him getting 2 hits was the fact that his family was there, because Saturday was so last minute. They weren't able to get there for that game because they do live in California. So obviously it's a long trip to come to Massachusetts, but they were able to make it for Sunday's game, which is when he got his 2 hits, which is really special for him. So I'm really excited for him in that regard. So I'm not putting a lot of pressure on himself if I'm him, but I am saying, hey, this is my opportunity to really go out there and show that I deserve to be here and that I belong on this major league roster, and that if I play the way that I am capable of playing, I am going to be one of the best players in the league. And he has to continue to tell himself that. He has to continue to say, I have the ability to compete with these guys, and I believe in myself. And he's seen his good friend Christian Campbell get called up. His good friend Christian Campbell started the season on the Red Sox roster. And I actually asked Marcelo about that in AAA. I said, how do you feel about Christian Campbell getting his opportunity? He said, I'm really happy for him. It really gives me the motivation that my time will come when it comes. And I thought that was great. And he saw Christian Campbell go out there and really wreak havoc at the beginning and put together some really competitive at-bats. So now Meyer can take that and run with it and say, hey, if Christian can do this, I can do this too. And shortly after, hopefully, Roman Anthony is going to be getting called up. So lots of things that we can be excited about when it comes to Marcelo Mayer. He hits for a lot of power. He just needs to continue to develop his confidence at the major league level, but that's natural for any rookie, anybody who's just getting called up and it's brand new for them. And they're playing at Fenway Park, which is a really cool environment to play baseball in, and they're at that highest level, and he's still digesting and taking everything in. It's natural that he'll run into some bumps along the way. But you know what? He has a really bright future with the Boston Red Sox. And if you're a Red Sox fan, you are absolutely going to continue to fall more and more in love with him over time. He has a great sense of baseball IQ, and his defense is very smooth. So I'm really looking forward to continuing to see what he can do to hopefully help this Red Sox team win more games. And in an attempt to shake up the roster a little bit, the Red Sox did make some roster moves recently, so I'm going to be talking about those next. Don't forget that you can subscribe to Locked On Red Sox on YouTube or any other podcast platform. Monday through Friday, I am here to talk about the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, so you can check that out wherever you get your podcasts, as well as the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. I appreciate you making Locked On Red Sox your first listen, but this can be your second listen. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. The Game Night show is truly great because they go over everything that's happened that day, all of the action in baseball. So that could be you consuming all of that content. So make sure you check it out immediately following this show, wherever you get your podcasts. The Red Sox had a frustrating series over the weekend against the Baltimore Orioles. And I can't emphasize enough how frustrating it truly is, because I feel like this team is better than how they're playing. The roster is better than how they're playing. That's why I said that they should look into firing some coaches and make some changes and show that they have the desire to want to win baseball games. And they are trying to mix up the roster a little bit, especially with the bullpen, as they did make some recent roster moves. So what they did was they ended up DFAing Sean Newcomb on Saturday night. He is a former first-round pick by the Angels in 2014 and has a 3.83 ERA this season. He signed a minor league deal with the Red Sox this winter, then made it up to the majors after a number of injuries. So now, because he's DFA'd, the Red Sox will have 1 week to either trade him or get him through waivers. A team very well might claim the big lefty with a strong pedigree, who is having his best pitching season in a few years. But if he goes unclaimed and the Red Sox don't trade him, he'll stay in the Red Sox system and just report to Worcester. So in a corresponding move, the Red Sox made the move to call up righty Luis Guerrero from AAA, who had pitched 14 innings in Major League Baseball over the past 2 seasons and not allowed a run. If this is it for Newcomb in Boston, it's definitely a bit of a disappointing ending for somebody who is a local kid. He attended Middleborough High School in Massachusetts, then took the unlikely path from the University of Hartford to a first-round pick. And now he may be looking for a new baseball home, but he does have some solid stats from this season to back him up. The Red Sox did win in 10 innings in game 2 of the series against Baltimore. They won 6-5, and he pitched in that game for Boston. He threw 1 inning, giving up 1 hit and 1 earned run with 1 walk and no strikeouts. So he looked decent overall in the game. Could have obviously been a little bit better, but 3.95 ERA on the season. Things could have been better for him, but things could have also been a lot worse. And he was throwing a lot better out of the pen than he was when he was starting. So hopefully a team decides to take a chance on him. And then after they DFA'd him, they called up Luis Guerrero, who looked rough. He threw in game 1 of the doubleheader, didn't exactly have his best stuff. He threw 1 1/3, giving up 2 hits and 1 earned run with 1 strikeout. But the biggest key, 3 walks for him in the inning. And that was what did it. He did not have the best command in that outing. And Alex Cora was definitely disappointed about that, about the fact that the command just wasn't exactly there for him. So the Red Sox didn't really wait a lot of time to make a corresponding move for him as well. So obviously they played the second game of the doubleheader and Guerrero pitched in that. But then prior to the series finale, the Red Sox ended up adding Zach Kelly from AAA Worcester and optioning Luis Guerrero back down. And Alex Cora had hinted on Saturday that a bullpen roster move might be coming Sunday morning, and then more could happen in the days to follow, but nobody really knew what kind of move it was going to be. And basically, Cora had expressed disappointment in the fact that Guerrero had those walks that he had, and they decided, okay, let's send it back down to Worcester and let's send somebody else back up. And Alex Cora basically said, I think where we're at, we got to keep making moves to reset the bullpen. It's been hard the whole week, so having a fresh arm will help us. So they decided to bring Zach Kelly back up, who began the season with Boston, allowing 10 runs in 10 innings over 7 relief outings. He then struggled in Worcester after being demoted there on April 22nd. He allowed 11 runs in 10 2/3 innings. He had 14 walks at AAA after walking just 2 batters to begin the season with Boston. But according to the Red Sox, he was dealing with a hamstring issue and tipping pitches, which supposedly has now been corrected and he's healthy. Alex Cora said, I don't know about the tipping part of it. I know he was a little bit banged up there. We always talk about it. The stuff is really good. He's just got to be more consistent in the strike zone. If we do that, we're going to be okay. So he ended up pitching in the series finale against the O's, and he wasn't overly sharp. He threw 2 innings, giving up 1 hit and 2 runs, but only one of them was earned. He did issue a walk. That run, unfortunately, ended up coming around to score, but the Red Sox did make a couple errors in the game that didn't exactly help his cause. So the defense behind him basically just airmailed a couple baseballs that scored a couple runs on the same play, and it just shouldn't have happened. So that's not Zach Kelly's fault. Definitely didn't have the best command, but looked a lot better, I would say, than what we saw from him earlier on in the season. 17 strikes over 25 pitches, so definitely could have been a lot worse. So that was overall pretty good, but he could have executed some of his off-speed pitches a little bit better. So we'll see. Hopefully the Red Sox strategy pays off of continuing to change up the bullpen and add more arms in there that can give them a chance to win, but they need to change some things. They can't just keep rolling with a 500 baseball team. It's really frustrating. I'm tired of it. We need to start winning games. So hopefully on this road trip now going to Milwaukee, the tide can start to turn and the Red Sox can hopefully start to win some games. And with your help, hopefully they can do that, because like I always say, you just have to keep the faith. Go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.